How to invest with little capital has become the most Googled word in 2026. And it sounds counterintuitive because you would think how to make money and all of those income creation titles should be the number one keyword as of this year. But unfortunately, humans have evolved to understand perfectly that every single person is on that title. So, how can I invest what I have now? What is the best use of my capital? And it's a very interesting philosophy, one that I encourage. I detest this idea of posting events, posting activities. When this happens, when I make more money, when I get X amount, I would invest, I would pay my tithes. No, it's most likely, even if you arrive that situation, you're never going to do it because he who is faithful in little is faithful in large. So the best move you can make is what you should do. So listen very carefully. There are two ways to invest your capital for optimal results. And before we move on, let me quickly say this is a very new perspective to this subject. It has never been said before. As usual, we bring unique perspective towards life's problems. This is not some regurgitated concept or something we saw online and we decided to add personal stories, tweak it a little bit. No, these are fresh ideas. You see, as a creator or a businessman, one thing you should notice is to kill the obsession of trying to do new things. Focus on freshness of ideas. You see, topics are finite, but the ability to redefine those topics is what is infinite. Trying to teach a new subject every single day to dispel the idea that you've lost your touch or he has nothing to say would lead you to depression. Because, like I said, topics are finite, solutions are infinite. The freshness is what is infinite. Your food, for instance, is finite. It's the ability to redefine and combine series of elements that has no business being in the same pot. That's what leads to a healthy lifestyle. It's the same with your content or your ideas. Let's take depression for instance. Most creators are action oriented, which is go to the gym, read 30 pages a day, and all of those things that's flooded on the internet. But you can approach it from the standpoint of lack of purpose, envy, stagnation. There are so many causes of depression you can latch onto. In fact, depression is a subject. I can start a whole series. I can teach it for the whole year and we would not exhaust its components. So focus on freshness as opposed to newness. There are two keys or there are two ways to invest your money with invest little capital, optimizing your investments. And let me say something very clear. No, I would not be mentioning investment vehicles, which is invest in XYZ stock or buy this crypto. No, I prefer foundations. I prefer giving foundation advice. Then whatever edifice you decide to construct is totally up to you. But be rest assured that my foundation is deep enough to host any kind of building. So what you create becomes a consequence of your limitation. If I have 100 feet foundation and as a consequence of financial limitation, I make due with a two-story building. Does that mean it lacked the potential of creating a skyscraper? Exactly. So the two-story building is not the optimal use of that foundation. It's only a consequence of what is available. Another guy can decide to build a duplex. Did he exhaust the potential? Exactly. So whatever you decide to do with this advice is completely up to you. I'm not wearing my watch. But before we move on, let's define what little is. Because little means different things to different people. $1,000 can be little for me, but much to you. So for the purpose of this discourse, we are going to be definite. Let's use $100 for instance. So $100, what is the best investment you can make with $100? The first thing you need to do, or the first key to investment optimization, is to invest back in the venture that generated the capital. If you're in a business, it's most likely you provided service for a payday. So the best thing you can do with that finance, aside the amount earmarked for savings, which is emergency, taking advantages of opportunity, etc., the excess should be reinvested in becoming proficient at whatever skill you provide. So if it's during a job, you go for tutorials or learning adjacent skills that can help optimize efficiency. And the problem with this generation is they love to gamble because everything comes quick. You want food, you order it. You want dopamine, you order it. You want a girl, you go on a website. So every single thing comes quickly. And unfortunately, how you do the small things leads to how you do the big things. You take that same approach towards finances, it's not going to work. Finances takes patience. It takes patience. Ignore the bullshit on social media, which there's this pressure to make it at such a young age. And there's nothing wrong with that. I'm not selling this narrative that finances has an age limit, but there is time. There is time. You see, what scares most people is this idea: if they invest in the tutorial, if they get the certificates, if they learn the skill, it becomes obsolete, or the sacrifices doesn't amount to much. My friend, 3 years might look like a lot, but 3 years would pass. At the infancy of my career, when I was investing in learning about the market and understanding various approaches to make money, learning the economy, what is cause and effect, what makes things big. If XYZ loses money, where does it go? So learning all of those things at the expense of partying, colleging, and doing all of those insanity most young people do. It was painful. There was no guarantee that after putting all the effort, ignoring the women, ignoring the parties, locking in, every single thing would work out. There was no guarantee whatsoever. 3 years would pass. The real question is, what would you become in those 3 years? And that is something each and every one of you needs to see tonight. Gambling and taking all of those chances would only deplete you. In fact, let's pretend for a second you gambled, it became profitable. What does that make you? A gambler. You have no idea how to keep this money, let alone multiply it. So your go-to source of wealth becomes gambling, and it's only a matter of time before you lose it all. So trying to gamble, especially when you don't have a plan, is counterintuitive. I saw a guy who won lottery in the early 1950s, applying later for a ticket 3, 4 years down the line. What happened to all the wealth? What happened? Exactly. So most people are doing well. Most people have a lot more than they think, only that it is spent on consumption. It is spent on consumption, not consumption of productive materials or things that move them further towards their goals. Unnecessary things, buying every and anything to please people. So that's the first one. Invest in what brings the money. It might not come quickly, and it would not come quickly. It takes time to learn skill. It takes time to expand your vocabulary. It takes time to become proficient at coding, sales, a good negotiator. All of these are composites of time. Time doesn't change anything. Time only reviews, is an amalgamation of all your decisions. So when you look at yourself today, understand perfectly that it is an amalgamation of your decision. Life didn't happen to you, you happened to life. Disregard all this nonsense of demons and someone cursed you. Please understand, a curse determines a certain kind of mindset to find expression. I've used this analogy. If, for instance, drunkenness runs in your blood, great grandfather experienced sin, grandfather, your father, now it's your turn. If you switch to Islam, would you find expression? Exactly. Now, I'm not trying to glorify a certain kind of religion, but just for the sole purpose of analogy. Muslims don't drink. So you now see every single thing in your life is a consequence of mindset. Success attracts a requisite level of mindset. Courses needs a requisite, a kind of mindset to find expression. So invest in whatever brought that $100 bill. And if it was a cash gift, it could be anything. If it was a cash gift, the best thing you can do is to submit yourself to materials that helps you understand human relation, common courtesy. You would notice in your own small life, you enjoy being around people who validate your existence. No matter how small you are, there is someone smaller than you, and that person wishes to be like you. So the validation you get from that experience, you want the person around. You will do anything to keep them there. And this has nothing to do with insecurity or you don't know yourself. No. In fact, I would argue that all humans have the same emotion. The real question is to what degree. Every single person is proud. Every single person is arrogant. We are all narcissistic to a degree. The separation is the abundance or less. So we all sustain the same traits. The real question is to what degree? Moderate in some, abundant in some, less in some. It depends. So that's the first one. Invest in what brought the $100 bill, what generated the capital. The second is to invest in yourself. My friend, it is good to provide value. It is even better when you are the value. If you notice people who make ridiculous amount of money, doing next to nothing, like a Messi saying three words and getting paid out $15 million, or people in 20 seconds ads and making ridiculous amount of money. They are the value. You rarely see some tech founder or some crypto dog in those kind of events. They provided value, but what is superior is to be the value yourself. Being the value, as we highlighted in the previous point, requires sacrifice, dedication, the ability to submerge yourself in that product, in that skill, in that level. If there's anything I've known about this life, is nothing can stop a man that refuses to stop. Nothing can stop a man that refuses to stop. The Bible said, and these men, they set their heart to build a tower, and God had to come down. Nothing will be restrained from these men, which they have done, which they have set their hearts to do. What about the widow and the judge? She went there on her knees saying, avenge me, my adversary. Avenge me, my adversary. And one day, the judge got up, who neither feared God or man, and he said, I would avenge this woman, adversary, lest she wearieth my soul. You can weary destiny too. Hold it till it produces. That level of importunity is something that needs to be demonstrated if you are going to the next level. You see, it is time to drop this childishness. The Bible says it perfectly. When I was a child, I thought like a child. I understood like a child. But when I became a man, I put away childish things, childish conversation, childish ideologies, childish businesses, childish excuses. Oh, I don't know why I'm waking up late and this demon is compelling me to take. That is a childish statement. Stand up and take responsibility for your life. It's time to end those silly comments, those silly remarks, and hold on to the four horns, the steering wheels of your destiny, and drive yourself to a place of purpose. How long would you keep making these childish claims and saying all kinds of things? My friend, in the life of a visionary, there's always something to do. If you don't have anything to do, it is proof you lack vision. Invest in yourself. Define where you are headed, what you want to see, what you demand from yourself, that your eyes will not see sleep until certain objectives have been achieved. Stop making excuses. Fight for your life. And as always, my friends, it's a pleasure speaking to you. I'll see you in the next one.